Hello everyone. In this video we're going to work with some pretty interesting data that was compiled by the folks behind the Feet into Worlds website. The Feet into Worlds website is a project from the Center of New York City Affairs at the New School, and I had the pleasure of working with John Rudolph and some of his staff to develop some infographics for an article that they were running on the challenges facing New York City foreign immigrants in the purchasing of homes. So if you're, I'll certainly put a link out to the article. It's actually pretty interesting um, as far as the story goes. And once you get on the page, you'll see if you scroll down on the site, there's a link to some of the infographics that we helped create down here at the bottom. And when you click on that, you'll come to this page, and you'll see Miranda Schaefer has sort of highlighted a couple of key things. Then there's some infographics here that talk about home ownership rates varying widely among immigrant groups, and then you see this nice breakdown here. So you know, when you see graphics like this, a lot of times there's this assumption that they have to be overly difficult to create, and unfortunately there's a great group behind Data Wrapper, which is a site that is specifically developed to provide those types of capabilities to journalists and others. So the website is datawrapper.de, and when you come to the site, you'll see it sort of explains what it is, but it's an open source tool helping anyone to create simple, correct, and embeddable charts in minutes. So this is a really fantastic tool and site. It's free to set up an account, and it's pretty true to its word right down here. I mean, it's easy to use, full control, customizable. So what I'm going to do in this example is basically walk you through how these infographics were created. And there's a couple of steps, but I'm also going to provide you with the data so that you can kind of do this on your own. All right, so let's get started. So John, Miranda, and the rest of the gang behind the site had done the legwork as far as finding the census data, and they pulled this from the American Community Survey. So I'm going to pull it up now. I've already gone through and kind of cleaned this a little bit, but you know, just to kind of give you kind of the lay of the land here. Whenever you're working with a site like Data Wrapper, it's really important to sort of minimize the challenges that the program's going to encounter with importing your data, right? So oftentimes that means that you have to do a little data cleaning, get rid of things like formatting, colors, bolded text, and just anything like that that could complicate things when the data is read in. And so basically that's what I've done here. And you'll see this is one spreadsheet, but I've actually sort of broken it up into blocks. And the reason I did that is because with Data Wrapper, you can actually grab these blocks of data and drop it right into the wizard, and it's going to go from there. So once you have your information organized how you want, you're pretty much ready to go. And again, just keep it simple, right? So simple headers here at the top. You know, make sure that everything's kind of consistent. So in this case, basically, I took the data, I added a couple of things, like I put New York City in parentheses behind the New York City specific data in U.S. Behind anything with U.S. And you'll see in the graphic why that's sort of important to do. And then so here in the percent owner occupied field, this is a numeric field. We're taking out percent signs and that sort of thing. Again, we can explain that in the text that goes along with the graphic. You'll see here a couple of others. If I want to compare a few variables, I can certainly do that and just list them straight across, right? You can also sort of do this pivot table alternative, right? So, and this will actually impact the type of visualization that you can do, but just it's pretty much that simple. So what we're going to do for this demonstration is I want to essentially recreate for you the infographic that we're looking at here, right? So what this is this is a list of home ownership rates that basically it's the percent of homeowners across all these various immigrant groups, broken down by those residing in New York City and across the U.S. And they're ranked, right? So Mexico within the New York City area has the lowest, and then we get down here to the bottom of the chart, and we see native U.S. Individuals have the highest rates of home ownership. Um, okay, so uh, let's go back to the data. The first step that I'm going to do here is I just basically want to cut and paste the data that I want. So again, I've already done the work here. I'm just going to highlight this chunk of data. I'm going to press Control Copy on my keyboard, and then I'm going to go back to Data Wrapper. Now I've obviously already logged in here. If you don't have an account, you certainly just go ahead and set one up. And I just click on Create Chart here at the top. And you'll see it really is pretty much a four-step process. So first, I'm just going to take that data that I grabbed out of the spreadsheet. I'm going to paste it here. Now, if you don't have data and you just kind of want to work with this tool, you'll notice that they do have sample data sets here. You can select one of those, or even upload a CSV file. Otherwise, just click Upload and Continue. And that'll take me to this next table. So now it's basically read in my data. You'll notice here we have this transposed data table. Now if I click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to switch the orientation essentially of my columns and my rows. So you'll see that that kind of mimics what I had in my spreadsheet. That's going to give us some different data visualization options, right? So you can explore that a bit if you'd like. I'm not going to get into that in this demonstration. But it is a nice way to sort of work with just displaying your data in a different format. So over here, I need to credit the source. So it's asking me who published the data in the first place, and that is, of course, the U.S. Census Bureau. And what I should do here is really put in the full path to the data, but just for the sake of this demo, I'm not going to do that. So I'll put U.S. Census or census.gov here. And next I'm going to click Visualize. All right, so on the Visualize tab here, it's going to give me a whole bunch of really nice options here. I can select the type of chart. We have bar charts, column charts, grouped column charts, stacked column charts, donut charts, maps, and data tables, line charts, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of, just kind of experiment and play around and select one that you like. For this, I'm going to, again, just go with the bar chart here. Now you'll notice that it's reading the data essentially in, but it's not maintaining the order or the look and feel that I had in that initial example that I want to duplicate. So we do need to refine it a little bit, but bar chart is the correct way to symbolize the data, so I'm going to click Proceed. Now I actually want to sort the bars, right? Because one of the things that I saw in my infographic here was that we had this nice sortable list here, which helps me keep track of the lowest percentages of home ownership up through the highest. So I'm going to click on Automatically Sort Bars. And when I do that, it's going to, by default, rank them essentially in highest to lowest ranking order. I'm going to click on the next one, which is just going to reverse that order. And then the final thing that I want to do here is in the infographic on this page, I had colored everything that was immigrant groups within New York City as orange, and then everything that was within the US was left as blue. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on this Customize Colors here. I'm going to leave the base color blue because remember, half of these basically I want to keep as they are. But for the other ones, for the New York City ones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on these, and when I hold down my Shift key and click on each one of the New York City values, I'll be able to select multiple values all at the same time. Whoops. All right, so that should do it. I now have all of the New York City values selected. And now what I'm going to do is I want to assign them orange. So I'm going to open up the color selector, select orange here, click the check mark, and there we go. So there's my chart, and this is essentially a live demonstration of what I'm going to get in the end. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to, finally down here, I also have this resize option, right? So I'm going to leave it as is, but if I wanted to change the dimensions of the chart, I can certainly do that here. But in this case, I'm just going to click proceed. All right, so I'm nearly done. You can see this is a pretty quick process. Title, I'm just going to grab what I had here, cut and paste it in. And we'll see the chart automatically updates. And in this case, because we are grabbing it from the census, it's helped to explain the actual variable and where the data came from, right? We want to be as specific as possible. So in this case, let's see, the data represents the estimated percentage of occupied housing units 2010 to 2012 from the American Community Survey 3-year estimates. All right, so one final thing that I haven't done here. You'll notice here that all of these values, with the exception of foreign-born within New York City, are kind of they're not highlighted, right? So whereas my foreign-born text is bolded, and I see that the color really kind of stands out. So that's kind of a nice feature, especially when you are trying to tell a particular story and really want to drive the reader's attention to one of your variables. So in this case, I have the option to highlight the most important elements. There's really only one in this case that I'm going to highlight. So when I open up the drop-down menu here for the Select Element box, I just want to select foreign-born within New York City, and that will highlight the foreign-born within New York City value, and everything else will kind of be somewhat faded. Okay, so believe it or not, I am nearly done. I'm just going to fix this slight error here that I had in my source, and then I'm going to click Publish. All right, so as the chart is being published, you'll notice on the left here, I've got a bit of code that I can just simply embed into my website. The other thing that I can do is if I want to, I can actually publish this directly out on the Data Wrapper site. You'll see that they give me this nice link to the visualization here. So if I click on that, I'm going to get essentially the chart as provided by Data Wrapper. Otherwise, I can come back here and just grab essentially this iframe and cut and paste it directly into my page. And that's it. So that is a really nice, quick, and easy way to create some very nice looking visualizations of data. Again, really the key is just getting your data in the right acceptable format. So again, I'll post this data set out in case you want to work with it a little bit. And in the next video with this series, we'll cover the next data visualization for the Feet in Two Worlds article.